April 15th, 2024. Well, we're kind of addressing the situation of the Iranian missile attack on Israel and its aftermath and what should come next. First of all, to outline, apparently we pretty much have the stats in that they launched, let's see here, I think it was 120 ballistic missiles, 30 cruise missiles, and 170 of these Shahed drones um, in the attack. That'd be 320, I believe, total. And I think 7 ballistic missiles got through, causing minimal damage at an airfield. Apparently, no airplanes destroyed, for example. So, if that's the case, then it looks like this is about 2% penetration, and therefore it was pretty much an ineffective attack. The sad thing for the Iranians is that apparently something like 50% of the ballistic missiles were failures, reliability failures. So, which of course decreased the strain on the Israeli ballistic missile defense capabilities with I guess there's some Patriot PAC-3s, Arrow 2s, and Arrow 3 defense missiles. So anyway, that's kind of what happened. And then the question is, what should Israel's response be, and what is the significance of this? I think in a way, I think Iran actually kind of did something that actually threw Israel a lifeline, if you will, in a really weird sense, if you look at the current situation. Because if we go back to the 6-month conflict roughly in Gaza, which is pretty much wound down now, there was a lot of blowback because of the collateral damage to civilians in the attempt to root out the Hamas terrorists, and so with that situation, causing international repercussions and so forth, and even splintering off support for Israel and the Democrat Party in the United States, it puts them in a not as good a position they'd like to be in. And this sort of flipped everything around. I mean, here we have a situation where you actually have Arab countries such as Jordan actually actively attempting to intercept these, presumably in this case, the drones, I assume. And then we even had the U.S. and Britain actively defending as well, as of course the Israelis who did the bulk of it. So in that situation, this kind of flips the whole thing around from what it had been in many ways. The other aspect of it is, it would be what sort of retaliation would be appropriate, proportional here. Since Israel doesn't really have a large stockpile of missiles to launch as such, although they do have some missiles they could use, obviously. But I think that we'll see what they want to do. I mean, I tend to think anything short of a really significant strategic counterstrike, something like a full-scale attack on trying to knock out their nuclear production capacity or something of that sort. Anything less than that would almost be like, what's the point? Sure, they could go in and blow up some Iranian assets, that's for sure. But all that would do is then probably elicit another attack on Israel, like we already saw. And the point is that this would use up valuable Israeli defense assets, such as these Arrow missiles, and eventually wear down Israel's actual ability to defend against these attacks. Because I would tend to think that Iran has more of their ballistic missiles than Israel has of Arrow missiles to launch. These are fairly expensive, of course, and in fact they did such a great job of defense here overall. I mean, even if we assume that 60 missiles actually entered their airspace and they actually intercepted all but 7 of them, that's a pretty good ballistic missile defense ratio. So, and we're not sure if the ones weren't, if they had reliability problems. We don't know whether they may have also had accuracy problems as well, as far as destroying the targets they're hitting. So, what I'm coming to is maybe the smart move for Israel would be to use the idea of trading, not retaliating, to certain other things that the United States could give Israel. For instance, restoring sanctions on Iran. That would seem to me to be one thing that they might want to do, pursue that international opening that they have at the moment. Would be a sort of a way to put some pressure on the Iranians, and in a way in which there'd be no real blowback or another attack. I mean, while I understand in a lot of ways from an Israeli doctrine, you want to strike back, and that makes sense. It just, in this case, I'm not sure if it wouldn't be counterproductive unless you're prepared to really go on a major offensive, which apparently the U.S. is not willing to back. You're having to deal with this Biden administration, which is, we've seen how lame they are in so many ways. So, given the situation, playing the political angle might be the smartest thing to do. By the way, if you like these videos, please give me a like. Always looking for more subscriptions. And of course, you can always also check out my Rumble site because I post there as well. So yeah, that kind of gives you a kind of an idea of what might be in the offing here. I mean, it's hard to know. The other problem I see Israel's having, depending on what method of retaliation they should choose to engage in, would be that they would presumably have to fly over Jordan, probably, maybe Syria, and Iraq to get to Iran, which is it's kind of the end of Israel's tether, you might say. Not that they couldn't conduct strikes inside of Iran, but it's really at the limit. I mean, when they did the attack on the Iraqi reactor back in, what was it, 82, 81, 82, that time period, that was a pretty long, reach there. And here we're even going further to really get to some of these Iranian assets. So I think that's another problem that Israel would have to doing that. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what their capabilities are, but trying to basically go through these other territories also kind of has a tendency to lose the support that they've sort of gained here. And again, it's unlikely that they'd be able to completely knock out the Iranian nuclear capacity anyhow, which they've still yet to field a bomb, apparently, mainly because maybe they don't want to, or who knows. But I think that perhaps the diplomatic economic approach might be the best bet for Israel in this case, and then you could get maybe coerce the Biden administration into doing some sanctions. That is not to say that the conservatives shouldn't be criticizing Biden for discouraging a counterattack. Sure, we should definitely put pressure on them in that direction, absolutely. But on the other hand, I kind of think ultimately Israel making a deal to not do the counterattack in return for more economic sanctions against Iran might be the smarter move to make. Of course, as far as the UN Action and Security Council, I think any resolution against Iraq would probably be met with a veto by the Russians and the Chinese, I suspect. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But that's another aspect. Now, one other idea I do have that might make an interesting response would be, there's apparently a intelligence ship that the Iranians have, off the coast of Arabia there, which is giving the Houthis targeting information to attack incoming merchant vessels, and has been making their attacks more effective. One thing Israel might do is send one of their Dolphin-class submarines down there and torpedo that ship, and definitely not claim any credit for it either. Just do it and sail away and let everybody suspect who might have done it. Maybe even put out a rumor that Egypt did it because they were upset about the loss of revenue in the Suez Canal. In fact, maybe Egypt might even want to do it themselves. I don't know. But the point is to get rid of that, which would decrease the Houthi effectiveness, and it could be a kind of a quiet retaliation, which wouldn't be a direct strike on Iran also. And it might make some sense. Anyway, just throw that out as an idea that would be, that'd be way lower than this. But again, it would not be, I don't think, it's escalatory, because it might be a little more ambiguous exactly what happened. Um, so anyway, that's kind of my thought on that subject. But the other thing is, of course, this is the day that Trump's trial, I guess, starts in New York. Jury selections in process. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know what chance he has of getting an acquittal in this thing. I mean, you have a hostile judge, and Trump has done nothing to make the judge less hostile, so he assumes the worst, and he's probably right. And the jury selection, well, hopefully somebody will get on the jury that'll hold out for real justice here and block this conviction. I don't know what the probability on that is or not. I'm kind of amazed at the estimate that the trial will take 6 weeks. I'm like, why should it take 6 weeks? All the key facts in the case are pretty much known. Is anybody disputing that the payments were made, or that Cohen was repaid out of his retainer? So and that the two women got the money. So I'm not sure exactly what is to be addressed here. I mean, I guess on one level, Trump could say he was responding to potential blackmail and that he hadn't done anything wrong. I don't know whether he's going to take a position as to whether or not sex actually occurred or not. I don't know about that. What he's going to do on that. He said he'd be willing to testify, but why the trial should take that long seems to be unclear. But anyway, it starts on the 15th here, and so we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. Hopefully, he doesn't get convicted. I guess the idea would be to get him convicted, and the Democrats use this as a propaganda issue while he fights the thing out in the appeals. And would the appeals process be completed before the election, or at least before most of the early voting is done? So that's kind of where we are on that one. So anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, and as always, I'll be posting on YouTube and Rumble, and the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. Until next time.